Hello, and welcome to Season 3 of Cabaret Beat. I am your host, Wydetta Carter, and I am thrilled to bring you more conversation with members of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. This season, the Paris-inspired jazz club Le Piano in East Rogers Park, Chicago, is our backdrop. Today's guests are Barbara Bailey and Cécile Savage. So come on in and join us for Cabaret Beat. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2.
Now you say you're lonely. You cry the whole night through. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river, 'cause I cried a river over you. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head, while you never shed a tear. I remember all that you said. You told me love was too plebeian, told me you were through with me, and now you say you love me. Well, go and prove that you do. Come on and cry me a river, cry me a river, 'cause I cried a river over you. You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head, while you never shed a tear. I remember all that you said. Told me love was too plebeian, told me you were through with me, and now you say you love me. Well, go and prove that you do. Come on and cry me a river, cry me a river, 'cause I cried a river over you. I cried a river over you. I cried a river over you.
Hello and welcome to Cabaret Beat. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this interview.
Oh, me too.
Oh my goodness, and I just wanted to delve right into it,
All
okay?
right, of course.
So, let's get to know a little bit about you. And I always tell people, go back to where you want to begin, but I think for you, I want to hear where you began.
Where I really
Okay?
began.
Yeah, so let's go.
I began in a cardboard box.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
There's a story coming.
There's a story. Yeah. When I was a baby, I was found in a cardboard box. And I was found by the caretaker of this six flat called the Tally Ho in Wheeling, West Virginia. And he was at work and he stumbled over a baby in the box, and they took me to the hospital, and I became a ward of the state, which meant that the state of West Virginia would provide for me for 4 weeks, hoping that my mother would come back, you know, to claim me. And I became known as the Tally Ho baby because I was found in the Tally Ho apartment building in Wheeling, West Virginia. You know, West by God,
Yep.
Virginia, Mountain Mama.
Mountain Mama.
Well, that would be me, I think. And so what happened was, Wydetta, four weeks passed and nobody came. And there was this dinner party for Judge McKee. And a young attorney and his wife, Lucretia and George Bailey, attended the party. And they had read all about the Tally Ho baby. So they said, so Judge, whatever happened to the Tally Ho baby? Did her mother come back and claim her? And Judge said, no, George is really sad, but we're transporting her to the state orphanage Monday morning. And George and Lou looked at him and said, no, you're not. We want to adopt her. So that same morning, 2 days later, at 10 o'clock in the morning, when I was supposed to be transported to the orphanage, they were in the judge's chambers adopting me, sight unseen.
Wow.
And what's really cool about that is his name is really George Bailey.
Ah.
Remember?
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's a wonderful
Wow.
life, Jimmy
Yeah.
Stewart, and
Yeah.
it has been a wonderful life.
Oh wow.
Could have gone the other way
Sure could have.
so easily.
Wow. Wow. Well,
So-
blessings to them and to you. And
Thank
look,
you.
look.
Well,
You're here and look what you're doing. Wow. Okay.
I'm
so
celebrating 3 birthdays
3?
because the medical examiner said December 7th, 8th, or 9th, and they didn't want Pearl Harbor Day.
Okay.
Okay, so they picked the 8th, but I'm doing my birthday show at the Jazz Showcase, and that's Wednesday, December the 7th, which is one of my birthdays. So what I say to my audience, and I hope you'll be there, is, how many birthdays do you all have? Because I have 3.
Wow. So you just pick whichever day you want.
Well, I'm actually celebrating the 7th, 8th, and 9th on stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's
It's a
nothing wrong
funny-
with that.
no.
See, you know what I do with my birthday? I'm born on the 25th of October, so I celebrate for 25 days.
That's great.
Either way, from the 25th
that's
or the
really
25th.
good.
I mean, why not?
Why not?
I have 25 days to celebrate. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
It's
anyway,
your
so
birthday. You can do whatever you want.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so now let's get into
Okay.
how did the music get into you? So you said you've been in the music business since graduating from college. But
Yeah.
were you singing or performing prior to that, or
yeah.
was it just in college? You tell us that little story. there.
Well, just quickly, I came out of my mother's womb in high-heeled shoes, and I've
Ouch.
always been little, so that worked.
Okay.
And also, I came out in the arts. I've just been so affected by music and film ever since I was little. And yeah, I was in high school plays and college plays. And when I came to Chicago after graduating from Michigan State, I couldn't get arrested for a job. Nobody, unless I typed and wanted to be a secretary, and I didn't do those things. So I thought, oh boy, I'm never going to get a job. And lo and behold, The Hang Up, which is a nightclub down on Rush Street,
Okay.
they were interviewing and auditioning for DJs. So
For
I
DJs.
was a DJ for 2 years on Rush Street.
Oh my goodness, you were actually spinning the
Yeah.
records. Okay.
And if I scratched them, I had to pay for them. Now, if you scratch them, it's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's what you're supposed to do. Before
Yeah.
you're like, oh my goodness,
Oh
I
my
can't do
God, I
anything.
better not scratch this.
Oh my goodness.
So it was really.
You were a DJ, so you had to be very eclectic with the music. You
It
had
was
to know
great.
everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Oh my
But I
goodness.
did because that's where my heart was.
Right.
You know how that is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and it's amazing what triggers the next thing in our lives.
It
You know,
is.
so
It is.
you were very active in musical theater. Then you go
Yes.
to college and
Yep.
you become a DJ, okay? And then you become a
more.
music rep for
I know. Well, back then, nobody knew anybody's last names. And so there were always these entourages of my guests. You know, I'd be up here and they'd sit down below me and talk to me, or they'd be on the dance floor in front of me or whatever. And one time, Bobby and Brenda came up to me and said, Barb, the way you handle this room, you really cook. I would love to have you come work for me.
Okay.
And I said, well, Bobby, what do you do? He said, I'm a music agent. I'm a music producer, not a music agent. I'm a music producer down the street at Universal Recording Studio. I said, that, I've heard them all, but that's the best I've heard yet. That's good.
Wow.
That is really, you know, I didn't believe him. That sounded like
Right.
a dream come true. He said, just try it. I've been auditioning other people, and I keep thinking of you, and just give it a whirl. You can always come back to the hang-up. So I gave it a whirl, and I never looked back.
Wow,
I never
okay.
went back to the hang-up. I was for 5 years a music rep, representing Bobby Whiteside Music at Universal Recording Studio.
Okay, so wait. Okay, I'm following this. Okay, so you got out of college.
Yeah.
Then she becomes a DJ.
Yeah.
Then you become a rep. Okay, and then you become a music producer.
Music agent in LA.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Bobby and Brenda decided to move their business 5 years later to Nashville.
Okay.
And I decided to move to LA. Why not? Doesn't every girl who's in the music business move to LA when they're
The dream.
young with stars in their eyes? Of course, I didn't know anybody in LA. And I just bounced around for a year. I went to all the right parties, met all the right people. I didn't have any markers. Nobody wanted to hire me. And I got a call from Dick Marks from Chicago. He goes, Bailey, are you still in Hollywood? I said, yeah, I am. Are you still in Chicago? He goes, no. Our son, Richard Marks, is at top of the charts right now with Right Here Waiting For You. He's dating Heather Locklear.
Oh, gee.
And we've moved to Beverly Hills. We don't want to miss any of this.
Right.
And he said, I need a music agent. Do you need a job? Do I need a job? I mean, I'm really packing my bags coming back to Chicago practically.
And then.
And I said, yes, I need
Wow.
a job. Truly, that's how it worked. Honest engine.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it was really perfect. And we had 8 glorious years, and what we did, I mean, we represented a lot of people like Dick Clark and Spielberg, but I also did other things too. So we did episodics for television, and whatever business I could find him, we did.
Right. Wow.
And we worked out of the second floor of Sunset Sound Recording Studio in Hollywood.
Okay.
So that was really,
And you
was
said
one
for
of those
8 years?
dream jobs.
Right. I mean, those are the phone calls that you want to get. You got.
Yeah, I got
so
that one.
you know. So,
I've had a few I didn't want, but
well, then there's that. So then that was 8 years.
yeah, that was 8 years.
Okay, and
and
then-
you know, he went to Vegas in his big old black Cadillac by himself. And he didn't come back
Yeah.
because a truck driver who was drunk drove over the median as he was heading back to LA and crashed into the car. And Ruth called me in the morning. She said, Dick is in a coma. We are canceling our session. And they're from Highland Park. So what happened was when he passed, I came back to Highland Park for the funeral. And instead of staying in LA, I moved back here because I ran into so many friends, and I was devastated. And you know,
Well, that's
very
the time
young.
to be with people that you know too.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
To lift you up again.
So-
Okay. So and wait. So then.
But wait.
Okay, but wait. So then you move back.
I did.
And you gather with friends, and then
did.
you become a senior music agent at Lily's Talent.
I did. Actually, I opened her music department. She really didn't have one.
Well, just so you know, Lily's Talent was the first one I went to when I came to Chicago. So I'm just saying.
I
It goes,
knew we had a lot in
the
common.
connection is
And
there.
isn't she wonderful?
So
And-
yeah, and
Self-made woman.
right,
She's
and
great.
so you did that for how long? You worked with?
I only a couple of years because I heard about this young kid who was bouncing around in Vegas. And I didn't know how old he was, but a producer in Vegas called me and said, Barbara, there's this young guy. He's a great singer. I don't think he's got any representation. And I was thinking I'm just going to open my own business, so I did. And I opened Bar Bailey Entertainment.
Okay.
12 years ago. Was it 12 years ago? Maybe 13.
Time flies. Time flies.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, I did. And he and his family ultimately moved back from Vegas to work with me. So I signed Dakota and managed him. I'm still managing him.
Oh,
He was
well, there you
21
go.
years old. Now he's 36.
Wow.
He's now in Vegas. He's doing
Okay.
great. I'm so proud of him.
Well, good for you, and I'm happy
Yeah.
that you still have that business. But now
Oh, yeah.
I have to ask you one more story. So you said 10 years ago you began performing again. It was a fluke.
Oh.
What? Okay, you forgot you booked somebody booked a show at Davenport's. Tell me that story.
Oh, that's such. I didn't know you knew that story. Well, yeah, you looked at my website probably. Yeah. Well, I represent people here in Vegas, New York, Nashville, and LA. And I get a phone call 5 weeks before December the 8th, which is a birthday of mine, from Davenport saying, Bar Bailey, we need to know more about the show that you're doing on December 8th here. I had forgotten that I'd booked a show.
Oops.
Oops. So, oh my God. And there's no cancellation clauses, right, in these contracts. I took a breath and I said, let me get right back to you. I'm getting an incoming call. Boom. And I called Dakota, who I was managing, and I said, how would you like to do a show with me in 5 weeks?
Okay.
Because all of my people had just done their big show. Here it is going into December practically, right? It's like the beginning of November, and they'd already, and nobody, who's going to come to another show?
Right.
Like a month later. And he said, I love your singing, let's do it. So I called it Through the Eyes of a Music Agent. And it was.
I love it.
And of course, all my friends came, and I figured that would just be fun, and that would be it. We'd never do that again.
And look where we are now.
I have 11 shows. It's just it's
Again,
crazy.
it only takes one thing to get you to the next, to the next, to the next. And
Yeah.
because you forgot something,
Yeah.
you created something on the spot, and now you have 11 shows. Wow.
I do. And
That's what I love about you, Barbara.
wow.
You know,
thank you.
that's your journey is unique to you.
Thank you.
But it's a great story to share with
Thank
you know everybody here in Chicago who can come see your shows and support you.
I hope so. I have one coming up.
I know you do.
Yes.
And you know, we're recording this a little bit earlier, so
Yeah.
it's going to be past by the time we see it.
that's
But you know,
Oh, that's
but that's okay. But we now know, everyone now knows who you are,
Yeah.
and will look for your name and
Yeah.
your shows that are coming up. So time flies. We're already at the end of our interview.
Okay.
So, but
It
thank
was
you
good.
so much. And before
Thank
you
you.
leave, though, you have to tell us what is the song you're going to perform.
Oh, I have to sing My Way.
Oh my
Gotta
goodness!
do it.
Yes, because
I did
everything
it my way.
you sure did. Your whole life has been done your way.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Barbara.
Wydetta.
This has
loved
been
it.
great.
You're awesome. Thank you. I totally love this song because I have lived such a long and crazy and mixed up life that it really appeals to me. It's the only song I know that says I did it my way. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did
what I had to do. I saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've laughed, I've cried. I had my share, my fill of losing. But now, when tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. What is a girl? What has she got? If not herself, then she has not to say the things she really feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. I did it my way.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Cabaret Beat as much as I am. So we're going to make another cocktail, and following what I usually do, I try to keep things simple with what we have in the house. So I had a little lemon, I had an orange, and I had some basil. Well, actually, I bought the basil. It cost me 35 cents, but no big deal. So we're going to slice a little bit of lemon. Slice a little bit of orange. Now we're going to put a couple of slices of lemon in my cocktail mixer, one nice slice of orange in the cocktail mixer, 2 pieces of basil. This is a shot and a half of vodka. That's going in there. We're going to muddle it. This is a muddler. If you don't have a muddler, either buy one, which you're going to use it, or you can use the end of a wooden spoon. So we're going to give this a good muddling. There you go. Muddling releases all the oils in the rinds, gets that basil flowing. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to add the other shot and a half of vodka to that. A little bit of agave. If you don't have agave, you can use triple sec or honey. Just a little bit. That's all you need. The ice. And we are going to shake vigorously because that's going to help blend everything together. Make this delicious. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got. Beautiful. Add a very thin garnish of orange to the top, a little basil, and there you go. This is a very easy to make cocktail, and it is delicious. It also looks great. Now back to Cabaret Beat. Really good. Wow.
La belle vie, sans amour, sans souci, sans problème. Oh la belle vie, on est seul, on est libre et l'on s'aime. On s'amuse à passer avec tous ses copains. Des nuits blanches qui se penchent sur les petits matins. Oui, la belle vie, sans amour, sans souci, sans problème. La belle vie, on s'enlace, on est triste et l'on traîne. Alors pense que moi, je t'aime. Quand tu auras compris, je serai là pour toi. The good life, full of fun, seems to be the ideal. The good life lets you hide all the sadness you feel. You won't really fall in love, for you can't take the chance. Be honest with yourself. Don't try to fake romance. The good life, to be free and explore the unknown. Yes, the good life, like the heartaches, when you learn you must face them alone. Please remember, I still want you. And in case you wonder why, well, remember, kiss the good life goodbye.
Welcome to Cabaret Beat, and welcome, Cécile.
Thank you.
I am so pleased that you are here. I am looking forward to some fun conversation with you and getting to know a little bit more about you. So, are you ready to begin?
Oh yes, I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take you back to just where you were born. You were born in Martinique, but raised in Paris. So, is there anything we need to know between Martinique and Paris?
Well, my father was asked to make a movie about the 100th year anniversary of the abolition of slavery in the island. And he went and he got kicked out because the sugar planters didn't like what he said. That was pretty much that 100 years later, the situation hadn't changed much.
Isn't that
like
a shame?
Like sharecroppers here, same difference.
Right.
So he was asked to leave, so he went first, and then my mother joined him later. From what I hear, it was the last boat that was engineered with coal. So then we lived in Paris from the time I was about 5 or 6 until pretty much the time I left, and I was 23 when I left France to come to New York.
Okay, so all your growing years were in Paris?
In Paris,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And I always wanted to play music. I studied classical piano for many years. But I was listening to jazz. My parents were into a lot of different music. So Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, Nina Simone.
Ooh, nice.
And my thing was like, I want to go there. That's where I'm going. Because I didn't really feel like playing classical music. And so I ended up in New York City.
Okay. Now, did you come for more education, or was your education finished by the time you came to New York?
No. I had studied philosophy in France and had dropped out because, you know, it was the end of the late 60s. Everybody's dropping out. Everybody's mad, including me. A friend of mine had been shot by the police. So I said, you know, I have nothing to do here. And I left because in the back of my mind, there was always jazz.
Always jazz.
Always jazz. So I ended up in New York. By that time, I cannot have a piano. It's not an instrument you carry with you. So I taught myself how to play guitar. And I ended up in Harlem in a wonderful program called Jazzmobile. And I had a wonderful guitar teacher, Ted Dunbar.
Okay.
And then I met a man who was a blues harmonica player. And he said, well, you know, I don't need a guitar player. I got somebody who plays better than you, but here's the bass, electric bass. And I was like, I don't want to play the bass. But of course, we started making a living playing electric bass. I ended up back in Paris, and then when I'm ready to come back to America, because I realized my musical lingo is more American than French. He said, don't worry, I'm coming. So he came, he ended up playing with the Rolling Stones on famously Miss You. His name was Sugar Blue. So
Sugar Blue?
Sugar Blue.
Sugar Blue, okay.
And so we ended up traveling across Europe, going to Africa. And by that time, it's the early 80s, and I'm like, I'm tired of what was happening in the band. I said, well, since I'm going to play the blues, I'm going to go to Chicago. Because then the blues, I can learn how to play jazz properly.
Right.
In Chicago. I had heard of Von Freeman, and so that's where I'm going. So I ended up in Chicago. I hadn't gone, it's not like I went to college for music. I mean, it was all first my piano education. And
so you had, that was your base, piano education was your base.
And, yeah, but I didn't have a bass. I didn't go to school.
No,
yeah.
right, but I meant that was where you started. That was the base of your music.
And then out of 75th Street, 2 o'clock in the morning, Von Freeman tells me, actually his drummer, Charles Walton, you need to go to school. And I'm like, man, you don't learn jazz in school.
Right.
He said, yeah, but we have a program at Malcolm X. So here I end up at Malcolm X. From Malcolm X, I ended up getting a scholarship at Roosevelt. And, but I learned the old way. Like we didn't have books. You didn't learn by looking at a chart.
Right.
You learned by ear.
Ear, listening.
And if you heard it, good. If you didn't, I'm on stage, or you'll hear it. And I'm like, oh my God, and some tunes were hard to hear. So it was difficult because a lot of people thought I came to Chicago knowing how to play upright bass, because that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
I wanted to go from electric to upright. So I did that. Then I got a scholarship to go to Roosevelt, which is really the only education on the upright bass I got, with a cab that was the bassist with the Chicago Symphony, Steve Lester. Then I got a scholarship from the National Endowment for the Art to study with Richard Davis in Madison.
Wow.
But then all I did with them was study Vivaldi. And I'm like,
you're like, back to classical, no.
No, but I like to bow. I love it. It's beautiful,
right.
but it's not what I want to do.
Right.
So anyway, to make a long story short, my daughter was born. I'm a single mom. I live on the South Side. I'm like, okay, after 7 years, I was only playing bass to make a living.
Okay.
I was living at the time in a building called the Musicians Building on the South Side. And I said, okay, no, I think it was after Reagan or something, all the music program died, like the artist in residence. I used to do a lot of those.
And that just disappeared.
And that disappeared.
Right.
So I said, okay, no, I cannot just make a living playing for $40 a night, 3 nights a week, and raise a child. So since I had gotten, by that time, a degree in jazz studies from Roosevelt, I went to the Chicago Board of Education, really dragging my feet because I never had a good feeling about schools, and especially not elementary school, although the school system here does teach music.
Right.
In France, you don't. If you want to learn music, you have to study privately, which is what I did.
Right.
But I realized in an elementary school, they didn't care about what I taught. Actually, I had lots of problems with administrations. And so after 15 years, I looked at how much money I could make retiring. Because I was trying to teach in high school, but the system, the way that they had told me to get my degrees, by that time I had a master's degree, I got a second master's degree. So by that time, I'm like, okay, I was certified to teach French, but they wouldn't let me teach French. So
you speak French, you're certified to teach French, but you
not
wouldn't.
necessarily, because it doesn't mean you know grammar. The French
Well,
grammar
that's
is
okay.
complicated.
Right, right,
So, but I am.
right.
So I, after 2013, I said, okay, my daughter's grown. She had graduated out of college by this time. I said, I'm out of here. It's too cold. Too segregated for me.
Well, that's
I'm going to New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
So I ended up, I said, well, this is French heritage.
There you go.
Let me go and see what's happening. Of course, nobody speaks French in New Orleans, but that's okay, I speak English. But it was very interesting. I would have stayed, but okay, my mother was also a great artist. And when she died, she left a huge amount of prints that she did. And I'm like, my sister and brother are selling the house in France.
Okay.
So what am I going to do with this in New Orleans? The weather is not appropriate for prints. My house is too small. So I still had a place in Chicago. I said, okay, I got to go back to Chicago. And when I came back here, it was a couple of months before COVID.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I cannot tell him. I mean, I can tell him I'm back, but there's nothing happening.
Right.
And since then, I've been trying to put my foot back in the door.
Okay.
Hence, me reaching the Cabaret Professionals.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that you did a whole roundabout to come back to Chicago.
Yes.
But you're here now.
Yes.
And so how
I'm here now.
And you're here now, and it is
Yeah.
freezing. It's cold. You came back, it's cold now, but it is November where we're
Yeah.
taping this. So I am still intrigued and impressed with you playing the upright bass and singing at the same time. How do you feel with that? How have you blended those two to make it comfortable for you?
For years, I had a great pianist who passed away since, and we had very amazing gigs. And also we had a trio.
Okay.
Calvin Coco Brownson, who used to play with Oscar Brown Jr., and Dr. Curtis Prince.
Okay.
And in New Orleans, I had to learn a whole different repertoire because they're not playing what we play in Chicago.
Right. Two totally
and
different.
I didn't know that I kind of knew a little bit, but not really. So I really enjoy singing. I really enjoy singing without playing, because it allows me to focus on the voice.
Right.
And I really enjoy this. To me, singing is much more sensual than just playing the bass. A lot of time I would play bass and sing, and people say, "Oh, you got a great voice." I say, "Did you hear the bass player?" "No, was there a bass player?"
No, and you're sitting right there playing the bass while you're singing.
I'm nearly 5'10", and said, "What bass player?" I said, "Okay." So when I came back to Chicago, I mean, in New Orleans, I was playing and singing. But here, I started having physical problems, and I had forgotten that I live on the 3rd floor here.
Oh, so
And
that's
I'm
a
like,
lot of lifting that bass up and down.
That's more than a notion.
Yeah.
So I also have electric upright bass.
Okay.
So that works better. But then I had to reconnect with places, but the people I knew are they passed away, and the clubs closed.
Yeah.
So I had a gig here at Le Piano. But other than that, Von Freeman had given me a great advice. Do not ask for gigs.
Do not ask for gigs?
Yes,
Okay.
because you see, you look like you're begging. So I did beg a few places.
Right.
It returned no answer. So I don't know if it is, I have a CD, I gave it to them, I think it is valid, you know. I think it's musically sound. Of course, it could be better.
Right. But you've now found the Chicago Cabaret Professionals,
Yes.
and that's opened doors for you to participate in things and be
Hopefully.
seen.
Hopefully.
I know there's a couple things coming up that for you, and I think
Right.
we're doing one of the same things. So, as long as doors are opening and you're ready to step through them, you'll be great. You'll be fine. And I think I am so impressed with you playing the stand-up bass and singing and finding ways to, even though your bass was classical, you found where you wanted to. Not your bass, not the bass you play, but the bass of your music you learned as classical on the piano. And that led you to everything that's now.
Yes,
So-
but I also grew up with so much jazz, African music.
Yeah, right. And that influenced you as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And so I think this is just another chapter in your career of singing and jazz and what you want to do. So
Yeah, well, I've been doing this for a while, you know.
well,
singing
we all have.
Yes,
We all have.
yes.
It's called our life.
Yes.
So your journey has been, everybody's journey goes like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And but it is your journey.
Yes.
And I want to thank you now for sharing your journey with all of us.
Thank you for asking me to share, because it's a pleasure.
And again, learned so much. And before you leave, though, I want you to tell us what you're going to sing.
I'm going to sing My Man,
All right.
which is originally actually a French song.
You did say
And
that.
it is truly a cabaret song,
Yes.
as the lady who sang it, Miss Tanguette, was a true cabaret singer, because cabaret was not jazz in Europe. It was totally different. And so I had learned that song a long time ago, and in France I knew it by Juliette Gréco.
Right, but I know that you're going to sing some French,
Right.
French and English.
Yeah,
so.
I got to plug it in somewhere.
I hear you. Well, thank you again so much. This has been a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much. It cost me a lot, but there's one thing that I got. It's my man. Cold and wet, tired you bet, but all this I'll soon forget with my man. He's not much for looks, and no hero out of books is my man. 2 or 3 or 4 girls has he that he likes as well as me, but I love him. I don't know why I should. He isn't good, he isn't true, he beats me too. What can I do? Oh, my man, I love him so, he'll never know. Oh, my life is just despair, but I don't care. When he takes me in his arms, my life is bright, all right. What's the difference if I say I'll go away when I know I'll come back on my knees someday? For whatever my man is, I am his forevermore. Pour le quitter, c'est fou ce que m'ont offert d'autres hommes. Voyez-vous, entre nous, ils ne valent pas très cher, tous les hommes. La femme, à vrai dire, n'est faite que pour souffrir par les hommes. Dans les bals, j'ai couru afin d'oublier, j'ai bu, rien à faire, j'ai pas pu. Quand il me dit viens, je suis comme un chien, c'est comme un lien, y a pas ma lien qui me retient. Je l'ai tellement dans la peau, j'en deviens dingo, que celle qui n'a pas aussi connu ceci ose venir la première me jeter la pierre. En avoir un dans la peau, c'est le pire des mots, mais c'est aussi connaître l'amour sous son vrai jour. Moi je dis qu'il faut qu'on pardonne quand une femme se donne à celui qu'elle a dans la peau.
Thank you for tuning in to another Cabaret Beat. To learn more about the Chicago Cabaret Professionals or to make a donation, please visit us at our website. Look at the link below. You'll find out a lot of information about when and where members of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals are performing. Take care and see you next time on Cabaret Beat.